Hey, Theology II. So this week we're continuing with the fifth commandment. Your writings on the just war have been pretty good so far. I'm happy to see that y'all kind of like, once I made that one clarification about the just war, that it's not like the idea that the entire war is just and good, but rather the idea that one side is justified in going to war. That seemed to have made a big difference, and the writings I've graded so far are very good. I'm sorry I haven't gotten all the grades in yet. I'm hoping to get caught up on that. But so far, it's been pretty good. And so I'm curious to hear from y'all if y'all think if y'all have any kind of problems with it. But the projects have been good. A lot of y'all put like the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. Once again, I think a big example of a just war would be World War II. It seems like the Allies were justified in fighting the Axis powers, especially the Nazis, right? The Nazis were aggressors, kind of focused on like world domination, it seems. We even know now that like Hitler was trying to develop atomic weapons to use on the United States to kind of turn the tide of the war. So, and we were attacked kind of surprisingly by the Japanese at Pearl Harbor. So the idea that we would be justified in World War II seems to be pretty clear. Now there is debate, especially among certain moral circles, on whether or not the use of the atomic bomb on Japan was kind of violating that one principle that the damage done by the justified side can't kind of exceed the damage done by the unjust side. The atomic bomb is often kind of morally questionable because we dropped it on civilian targets, right? So civilian targets were attacked and innocent people lost their lives. A majority of innocent people, like the vast majority of the people who died in the atomic bomb attacks were civilians, innocent, especially women and children. And so the idea here is that we as the Americans and as the justified side committed an evil there. I don't think that would mean the whole war became unjust, but rather that was an unjust act, that the use of atomic weapons there. And so the Catholic Church kind of has a long history in the idea since World War II of opposition to atomic weaponry and nuclear weaponry. But anyway, we could talk about that at another time. So we've covered the just war. We've covered, we read a Malus and this idea of whether or not, it would be good to stay in a city that everything's perfect, everything's happy, but it's all based on the misery of one innocent person. Almost all of you said no. So now we're going to move into probably one of the more controversial topics of the entire year. We're going to move into abortion. Now, yesterday I asked y'all to start thinking about it, and I want you to continue thinking about it today. And I really do encourage you. I don't know what your homes are like, but do talk to your parents about abortion, to ask them what are their thoughts on it. Why do they think the way they do? How does that stack with or against their Christian beliefs if they are Christian, or what do they think about the Catholic position of being against abortion? And so I want you to really spend time thinking about it, because as I said, after we finish the video we're going to watch on abortion, we are going to write another Thomas Aquinas writing. Y'all's last one was so good that I'm really curious to see how this goes with a much more controversial topic, right? And so the topic will be, is abortion morally justified? And you will have to answer yes or no, but you will have to use, objections to your argument. Now, the video we're going to watch is by a lady named Stephanie Gray. She's a Catholic speaker. She's kind of like well known in the pro-life world, speaking against abortion. But the talk she gives that we're going to watch is one she gave at Google. So it's interesting that she's actually talking at Google at a very secular, non-religious environment. And most of the people in the crowd that she's talking to disagree with her or would disagree with her. And so, it's kind of an interesting talk because she's not giving it to a religious group. She's giving it to a very non-religious group. So I think that's something to keep in mind, especially because this talk becomes very philosophical. Now, I will say it's interesting that, I think a lot of what she says is it's very heavy, but it's also, tough to listen to, and I think a lot of you might disagree with her. So what I'm going to do is challenge you when you're watching this video. Keep in mind that you will have to write a paper, and if you are going to write your Aquinas paper in favor of abortion being morally okay, the objections will have to come from this video. And so your grade will be based on how well you kind of can summarize what she says and how accurately. So make sure you're paying attention and think, I'm going to have to at least list at least 3 of these arguments. If you are pro-life and you're going to be arguing against abortion, you're going to need to use information that she uses. So I'm going to be grading these papers that we will do after we finish the video based on how accurately and how well you kind of use the information from this video. So pay special attention for that. What are some good things for you to keep in mind when watching this video? Once again, I think, it's interesting. I want to try to give you, first off, there will be a little quiz after this, so keep that in mind. And so a few things that will be on this quiz will be, where is this talk going to be that we're about to watch the video for? It's at Google. I want to also have on this quiz a restatement of what's the main question we're asking. Because so when we're going to look at abortion, the main question for the 5th commandment, right? So when we're asking, man, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. When we're going to be looking at the video, right? The main question that needs to be on your mind is the main question for the 5th commandment. Does human life have objective value? Is human value, the value of a human life, is it objective or subjective, right? The church is arguing objective, that value is real. So when you hurt an innocent person like in Omelis, it's not that in our minds that, oh man, that person has value, but rather in the person is the value. So that act becomes bad no matter who you are because you're hurting an innocent person for the good of the city. When it comes to abortion, does human life have value? So the question is, does the embryo, right, is the embryo human, and does that human have value if it is human? And is that objective, meaning hurting it is wrong objectively? So that's kind of the main thing as we go into it. Now, I want to make a clarifying point here because I've noticed that every year I show this video to students. One thing they constantly say is her comparisons are apples to oranges. That's like the favorite line that people say, like, oh, when she compared, the embryo to a toddler, that's apples and oranges. If you're going to take that stance, that's fine. You can take that stance, but you need to clarify why these things are categorically different, why there's 2 categories. Because if, usually we use that phrase apples and oranges to say you're comparing 2 completely different things, right? So if I was to say, it's wrong to kill elephants because it's wrong to kill people, you could say that's apples and oranges because elephants and people are different things, right? Or if I was to say, it's wrong to steal from a person, therefore when you pull money out of an ATM, that's stealing, you would say, no, that's apples and oranges. But if the category was fruit, like what are 2 different fruits, or what are 2 fruits, apples and oranges would actually be the same in that because the topic is fruit, the category is fruit. And so when we're looking at categories, the apples and oranges is important. So a lot of the time she's going to be saying, an embryo is a human and a toddler is a human. So it's not apples and oranges in the sense that these are 2 different. But rather, these are 2 different stages of the same category. So you can't just say apples and oranges. You have to think, why are these things categorically different? So that becomes very important. Why is the embryo different than a toddler? Why is the embryo different than an adult? Like, that is what you're going to have to kind of argue if you're going for the pro-choice side. And if you're going to be arguing for the pro-life side, you need to be able to summarize the pro-choice side in a very kind of articulated, well thought out manner as well. So I just want to kind of get you ready for that. So we're going to be watching the video. Pay special attention. Keep in mind that you're going to be writing this Aquinas assignment. And remember, the main question for the 5th commandment is, does human life have objective value? And that's going to be the question here. So I hope you talk to your parents about it. I hope you, think about this. And I hope you're open-minded as you watch this video. And I look forward to reading your papers. Please email me if there's any questions or struggles. And then just for the 3rd question, the secret word of today will be Easter egg. All right. God bless, guys.